Ooh, I should put on Do Not Disturb for once, so people aren't confused when they hear that ding come in, and it's printed into the podcast. There we go. No, Do Not Disturb is on. Are we ready to start?
I'm just more concerned about how I look. Is it too good?
Sorry, I laughed like that.
I don't know why you're laughing.
I didn't mean to laugh.
It's a serious question.
Yeah, we sort of match. We have
bit.
greens and blues and
A
black.
little brighter than usual.
Yeah. I think I might have been wearing this exact sweatshirt last time we did a podcast.
It's possible.
Because sometimes I get attached to a piece of clothing and I just want to wear it constantly for a week or two.
Me too.
The way I get attached to a certain meal or food, and I think I had an English muffin with almond butter on it for like every morning for like 2 years straight.
And you know I'm very much the same way, where you just get into something. And...
But sometimes you have to break your patterns, and that's what I did this past weekend.
You sure did. In fact, the morning after we recorded the last podcast, we did the last podcast on Tuesday night, and then Wednesday morning you headed to Utah.
I did, and I was not off grid. Well, I was off grid. I was off grid. I was off cell phone. I was completely out of touch in the desert, and it was amazing.
Yeah, you were in Canyonlands?
I was in Canyonlands, yeah, southern Utah, national park. We camped inside the national park.
Yeah.
And in an official campsite.
How were the crowds?
Wasn't too crowded. I mean, we definitely noticed an uptick on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
I mean, Saturday mainly. We left on Sunday. A lot more people at the visitor center, for example. But, I mean, I wouldn't say that it was crowded.
Okay, well, that's good to hear because, it's getting to be Colorado, certainly is.
Yeah. I mean, I think this particular campsite used to be unknown, and it was full.
Right.
And there were a few people who would drive by, and they couldn't get a spot. And we did have to kind of, like, angle for our spot. Like,
I know. You had a hilarious picture of you guys trucking your setup tents.
We drove the assembled tents on the back of a truck bed from one campsite to another. So here's how we did it. So it was Suzanne, my water ski and hiking buddy and snow skiing buddy, Suzanne, and her husband, Dan, and then her forever best friend from high school named Justin.
Not me, but another
not
Justin.
You, but different, yeah. And Justin drove from San Diego, and he got a really early start because he likes to drive, and he got there at like 11 o'clock in the morning, 10, 11 in the morning, something. I mean, I think he might have driven like earlier the previous day.
Yeah,
anyway.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I mean, it's a much longer drive.
That is far.
Yeah, it's real far.
Yeah.
Anyway, he grabbed a campsite for us, which was the only remaining campsite the day that he arrived on Wednesday. And it was not a good, I mean, it was a good campsite, but it was hot and it was in the sun and it didn't have much shade.
Yeah, and you said it was very hot.
It was very hot. It was in the
90s.
Mid-90s. So
and that's that desert heat, which, luckily it'll cool down at night.
Yeah.
But at the same time during the day, that sun is just burning into you.
Yeah. But he got to claim that spot, and then we kind of did recon, and we found a spot that we wanted more, and we talked to the people who had the little tag that said they were leaving the next morning, and we're like, hey, made friends, and then like, so what time do you think you guys are leaving in the morning? And then I talked to the ranger, and, I was like, can I put a tag under their tag right now? And he's like, no, you absolutely cannot do that. Because then it's just, it's snowballs. And people are like, people are starting to put tags on for 3 days out. You can't do that. But it was good that I talked to him, because here's what went down. We did go ahead and grab that campsite the next morning, and I put a tag under their tag after the time that I was allowed to do so. So, like, I got up, and at 7 a.m., I went down to their campsite real quietly, and I put our tag behind their tag, because 7 a.m. is when you can get a campsite. And so then they left, and we came in, and I didn't think to take off their tag. And so when the ranger came around, he thought that we were the previous people.
Oh.
And we're due to leave. And there was this other group that saw the tag as well. And they were like, how come these people, they went and told on us. Like, we were there, like, past the checkout time because we had just moved in to that spot.
Oh, and you forgot to take the other tag.
And we didn't take the other tag down. Yeah. And so they're like, like they went to the ranger instead of like talking to us, and the ranger came over and was like, "Hey, you guys, you staying another day or what?" No, and then I pop up and he's like, "Oh, it's you. Good job getting this spot." And then he told other people to go away.
And but you guys there was kind of a lot of trees and oh my gosh, the night sky pictures you got.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh,
It was
you
amazing.
should send them to me. I'll drop them in the pod right
Okay.
here.
Well, it's on Facebook now, so you can
Oh,
grab
it's
it
on
there. Yeah.
Facebook, so you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a new moon the day we arrived. So no moon at all, just starlight.
And
it was
yeah.
absolutely magical. You could walk down the paved National Park Road on the campsite and you could see the white stripe on the road reflected in starlight. And so you could just like turn off your headlamp and just kind of walk with your head in the clouds or in the sky. And I felt like I was like this disembodied consciousness floating around in the sky because it was silent.
Because you were like swimming in the sky because it
I
just
was
seems so yeah.
It was just quite the experience. Yeah.
Well, and I was telling you, we went to one of our favorite places last night after you got in, and I think it was such a good break for you. You had really run the tank pretty low.
Yeah. Simultaneously wound myself up and drained myself empty.
Yeah.
With everything I was doing. And this entire 5 days, I was in the present moment every second of every day. Like
Yeah.
I did not have any thoughts of the future or the past. It was just we are sitting around the campfire talking, or we are walking down the highway looking at the stars, or we are hiking, which is the main thing we did.
Right.
One foot in front of the other. What are we looking at now? I mean, it was just so in the moment, and it was a complete brainwash.
Yeah.
in the positive sense, it washed my brain clean, and I feel good. I feel great. So yeah, we did some camping, hiking. There's a fair bit of ancillary enjoyment.
Sure.
Of the healthy medicinal kind.
Right. Not that you did the medicine, but
Not much. I had a total of 3 puffs over the 5 days.
Yeah.
2 of them were so small I didn't feel anything. One was a nice hit, and I felt good for half an hour.
Yeah. Wow, you nailed it then.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah. No.
I usually overdo it when I try.
It's so hard now not to, which is why I don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was just a gorgeous trip. Pictures were amazing, and I think it was so great for you to be sort of forced into no cell service. You just have to.
Yeah.
You can't even think about work. You just gotta relax. I mean, you could have. You get my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to bring this around to the theme of the podcast, which is Justin and Adrian's Music Life Weekly, I wanted to mention, I didn't say this to you. They one of them brought a little portable Bluetooth speaker that we would put on real quietly around the fire at night. And we'd take turns putting some music on. I didn't have a whole lot downloaded on my phone, so it was a choice between the War on Drugs and Foals. That's pretty much all I have downloaded, so we listened to some War on Drugs. But the point I wanted to say, or the thing I wanted to say was, the last night somebody put on that Willie Nelson jazz covers album.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Okay, first of all,
Yeah.
it's outstanding.
Yeah.
Second of all, listening to it in Canyonlands around a campfire while you're smoking
Yeah.
and drinking. Oh my God. That was like a highlight of my life.
You got Willie Nelson now.
He's so good.
He's unbelievable. Somehow it's like effortless.
Yes.
And he just throws stuff away, but somehow it makes it more emotional.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's how I like to sing.
Yeah.
I like it to be effortless, not showy. I like it to be meaningful without overexerting the meaning.
Right.
I like you to be able to find the meaning yourself in just the simplicity of the delivery. And so I'm newly inspired. Oh my God.
Is that might be called Stardust? What is that album
I don't
called?
know.
Yeah, it is the jazz covers. It would probably mean less to you because you didn't necessarily grow up with old hymns, but he also has an album called Willie Nelson's Family Bible, and it's the same thing where instead of jazz standards, it's all old hymns, and him doing those, and like his delivery on that stuff is just like it just makes you want to cry. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like,
And not only that, but his voice is so good. I never
yeah,
realized how good his voice is. Like the tonal consistency
right.
across pitches and across dynamics and the effortlessness of it all.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think
new fan.
I think there was something, yeah, well, that's so great to hear. And a heck of a guitar player too. And, yeah, isn't it funny how hearing music in the right place can really make you a lifelong fan of it? The right time and place. You know, I mean, I think that probably is what happens to a lot of those poor bastards who become Grateful Dead fans.
Yeah, we listened to a fair bit of Fish, and I was like, I like this.
Yeah.
It was great. Oh, you know who? What else? Someone else played. Justin from San Diego mentioned Soul Coughing because he thought I would like Soul Coughing because it's a very
Sure.
drum and bass band. And
Yeah.
I was like, I've heard of the name, but I don't know who they are. So he played an album of live Soul Coughing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I saw them live way back when.
that sounded like a fun show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little weird, but I liked it.
Yeah,
It's
very,
creative.
groove based.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how things can really get in your head because of just right time and place. You're in the right mood to hear it, and
I guess
it just
anything anybody would have played, I might have liked if it fit in the desert.
if it fit in the desert. Yeah. Which, you know, next time you should get into some Queens of the Stone Age, maybe some Caius.
Caius?
Yeah, that was the band that Josh Homme was in before Queens of the Stone Age.
Okay.
It's heavy rock, but it's desert rock.
Okay.
They formed the band and got popular because they would go way out in the middle of nowhere in the desert and throw these crazy, basically
Oh.
Burning Man parties.
Yeah.
And then the band would play
Okay.
these middle of nowhere desert parties. And
I've listened to some Queens of the Stone Age here, and I like some of it, and I don't like more of it.
yeah.
Eh.
It is, you don't think of it as deserty until you're like in the desert and you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, that's just sort of what they're doing.
It's
yeah.
so interesting how different music fits different geographies and cultures.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, obviously different cultures.
That's exactly- yeah,
Very
yeah.
different cultures. But like, I had a conversation with the producer Lang Bliss a long time ago
Uh-huh.
about like it may be that when you're an artist trying to make it, and with your music you may just not be in the right geographic area for that music.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to make it in Colorado, and I wanted to do electropop that was like 80s influenced, and there's just not a lot of that in Denver.
That is not the vibe.
Denver's not the place for that. That's
Yeah.
not the vibe. Like jam bands,
Uh-huh.
rootsy bands, metal bands, even
Yeah.
now country. Those are and some good indie rock is now coming out of Denver.
Right.
But like
sure.
electronic throwback
You were
80s pop, it's just like
you were doing hipper city kind of things. You know what I mean?
aw, I was
well-
too cool for Denver.
That's not
That's what I'm
necessarily
hearing
what I
you
meant.
say.
Yeah, you were just too cool. No, you what you wanted was going on in other places, but it just the geographical area, or an observation I've made a bunch of times is there are so many bands who just miss their window by a year or two. Not that they're chasing trends, and sometimes it's the opposite. It's like, man, if that record would have come out 2 or 3 years later, that would have been a huge smash hit. It just wasn't where everybody's head was at the time.
Yeah.
Or through no fault of their own, that record came out a few years too late, and it just wasn't where people's heads were at the time.
Yeah.
And super high quality. It just wasn't, and then you get those other records that become these huge smash hits because somehow they just nail the
zeitgeist.
It's not about the musical trend or people like this kind of music right now, or it's hot to do trap beats or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like an artist will nail something on a record where like this is just the spirit of the time, and you just happen to land right on,
Yeah.
and those albums are really magic. And I don't think you could do that on purpose. I think that's something that, happens or doesn't,
So, did you do anything in music while I was gone?
I did almost only music. Yeah, I was working on, of course. So, long story short, I expected to spend more time at the studio, but I just, it's kind of an hour to between breaking stuff down, driving to the studio, breaking stuff down, driving home, I was like, I didn't want to lose the hour. Although Wednesday, I went and hung out with some people. And then Thursday, I taught, I didn't teach. I basically facilitated. I don't know what you'd say I did.
Co-hosted?
Co-hosted. Joe Mondragon did this really cool class about chord progressions in popular music, and I thought he knocked it out of the park because he did a great job of not letting it get too technical and keeping it in the feelings range, as in sort of like, hey, when you're on this chord and then you go to this chord and then that feels like you're further away from home, or it feels like you're tensiony, or it feels like it got sad here or whatever. And he had great examples from current songs. And he even did a Beach Boys song, "Good Vibrations," that I I just had never paid attention to how musically interesting that song was. It was pretty genius. And I thought he did a better job of teaching it than me, because I would have fallen back into much more technical music theory explanations for stuff. And he kept it very, it's not that he was also explaining music theory, but he kept it very down to earth and very, you know, and you know the way my brain works. I'm always thinking like interior melodies, and this works because this, and there's an interior melody that's happening between those chords, and that's why they sound good. And stuff that is not easily explained. And Joe just kept it like so down to earth. People loved it. It was very well attended. Go Joe.
Cool.
And that was Thursday night. And then honestly, Friday through Sunday when you were back, I barely left the chair. I was producing away. I would say my biggest challenge the whole weekend was I was experiencing some challenge keeping in one project. Like I kept wanting to jump around, meaning like, for example, I needed to do some acoustic guitar, which I have to redo tonight, but on one song I have to redo it. And I was like, yeah, but and then this other project I need to do acoustic guitar anyway, so I'm set up for doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And then so I'd open that project up, and then I'd think of a couple things I could do, and then before I knew it, I'd kind of like so I was really like, by Saturday I had to be like, nope, you're gonna open one thing and you're gonna go A to B, like no, go straight lines, because I was just bouncing around, and I need to do keys on this, but then I was meant to put keys on this Lena thing, and I was just being really kind of ADD about it. But got a ton of stuff done, and it was great to be quiet, and I think I really do need to get better about I might even need to make assignments for myself or plans for myself, like as in this afternoon, you're going to get this and this and this done. And not let me start opening stuff and experimenting and then this and that and then that, because suddenly that triggered an idea for how to make this other thing better. So let me go over there. And I can be kind of ADD that way. And I think I need to be not just to-do lists, because I have to-do lists of like all these things need to get done, but a specific, you're going to do this for 30 minutes and you're going to do that for 30 minutes.
Really?
And you're going to do. I might try getting that strict with myself in terms of producing.
Okay.
Which is weird because it's a touchy-feely creative process, and sometimes you're just finding things, and sometimes you get stuck, and you just go over to the YouTube or the Spotify and be like, I'm just kind of going to listen to random songs for 30 minutes until something clicks for me, because I don't know where to go next with what I'm working on. But at the same time, I think it might really help me to just be like, nope.
Cool.
And we've talked about it. I'm getting better and better at being like, that is good enough. Like, because I could, especially when I'm tracking myself, whether it's bass or guitar or whatever it is, I could spend an unlimited amount of time getting it just better and better and better. And I'm getting better at saying like, that's fine right there. Like,
good.
Good.
I'm glad to hear that.
Are those the best bass fills anybody's ever heard? Are they a little generic? Yeah, they're a little generic, and like I could probably come up with something cooler. Does it need anything cooler? It's like, no, it doesn't. Just move on.
Good.
So, Anyway,
When
that was.
someone pays you $10,000 to produce a song, then you can
Then
find
you
the
can do
perfect
that.
bass
Then
player.
yeah, and that's the way I need to get much better at looking. I feel like I'm better than I used to be, but and and I had to so I was recording a song with Casey Harding Brown, who's my uh the very first client I worked with in Colorado.
No way.
Yeah, she is the
Yeah,
very
man, that
first
is
person.
forever ago.
It was forever ago. It was early Performance High days, and
Yep, she was another student from my basement.
and she was the first person I started working with songwriting and production in Colorado.
Man, I think she started with me when she was like 15 or 16.
Yeah, maybe. And I knew her when we first started working together. She was in college. I think she was 18 or 19.
And she's getting close to 30 now, I think.
Gotta be 30. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Lovely person. One of the funnier people I know. She is just. She's just funny and exuberant. And
Yeah.
anyway, we were working on a song today, and she was like, even commented like, because I was like, oh, I think we got it. Let's move on. And she's like, whoa, like Justin, you always want to like track and track and track. And I used to, and I said to her, I think one thing is that in just the past couple of years, I think my confidence has really grown. And like I used to want to track and track and track and like, no, I need 20 takes of that because later I may need to dig back through, and compile different takes, and I need to be absolutely sure I've got everything I need. And now I've got much more confidence of like, oh, if I hear it in the moment and I think it's good in the moment, I trust myself more to be like, I will know it's good later.
Yeah.
So like I don't need 20 takes out of you. I can get 4 and go, if I hear it and it's good and I know it's in the comp, or very often I'm comping in the moment, which comping is just putting together different vocal takes. So this few words from take 1 and this few words from take 4 and this few words from take 2. And I'll throw it together and I'll be like, it's there. Let's just move on. And I think
That's got to be saving you so much time.
I think I didn't know it at the time. I think looking back, it was a confidence issue.
Yeah, I see
I
that.
think I would track and track and track because I was just a little worried that I wasn't sure that it was good. And now I'm starting to, I trust myself more and go, you know what, that's good in that it's technically good, timing and tuning, and then also it's emotionally moving me. And so like, let's move on. If you nailed it on the first try, I'm now getting the confidence to go, hey man, that was good enough. Like, let's go, whereas I used to be like, oh, I got to get at least 10 takes because I can't be sure until much later that we got it. So anyway, that was an interesting kind of realization, because until she said something, I hadn't really realized that's what it was. She was just like, I can't believe you're letting me do like 2 takes. And Casey's always been a soldier. I also told her she's always been like, she will stay in it. She has some of the same stamina that I do, or she can stay in it for a long time. And we've done a bunch of songs and an EP together and all this stuff. And she could stay in it, but part of what started making me want to move faster is I was starting to notice singers, we'd be halfway through tracking the song and they're emotionally done. They just don't have anything in the tank. And then you're listening back to the song later and you can tell that like, oh, they were pretty bored by the last chorus. So that's what started making me want to move faster.
Yeah.
And then also, like I said, just that confidence of being like, you know what, if I hear it and I think it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Anyway, that's pretty much it. And gosh, we've got, the one big thing I'm looking forward to is we've got some of my favorite classes to teach coming up.
Yeah.
We've got a How to Talk on Stage class.
And How to Move on Stage class.
And that yawn is not indicative
it's
of how the classes go.
It's late. It's like, what? It's 9 o'clock.
It's 9
my
o'clock.
Gosh, and I still have music to learn for Cody's
Oh
rehearsal.
my gosh, we got to get done. So we'll tell you all about the classes next time.
Yeah.
Let's just get done with this. We are sponsored, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio?
Darn it.
What?
I was going to do a thing.
Do it again.
Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
There you go. Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well. Someday we'll be good at this.
After doing it for
After
maybe
3
after we pass 3 years, we'll get
Maybe
good
after
at it.
we pass 3 years is coming up, guys.
It's coming up real soon.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
It's amazing. Well, thank you for doing this with me, and
Yeah, sure thing.
it's still fun. Okay, so thank you guys very much, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.